Well, thank y'all for coming. Hopefully, you're able to get something out of this. This is something, obviously, me and Em are pretty passionate about, obviously being house leaders, and we enjoy this. But this is Emily's title for this, Ron Clark Academy House System. This is not Harry Potter. And I think it's a perfect title because usually when I explain this to anyone, my parents, my friends, they're like, oh, so it's sort of like Harry Potter. Just because that's the only thing you hear about the house system. And I want to start this with a little bit of background before we dive into sort of how we actually did everything this past year. To give you an idea of, we basically spent 6 months almost, probably pre-Ron Clark, to basically scrap a lot of things as soon as we went down there. It sort of started as a rumor, I would say, as far as, hey, we might be doing, we're thinking about starting a house system. And then it turned into, that's something I would love to be involved with. This is something she would love to be involved with. And then we sort of found a core of 8 to 10 of us, and then we started meeting. We actually came up with names of our houses that was separate from what we actually ended up with.
We had Chris design for all the, what we were going to have with our houses with names. We started working on backgrounds for them. But like Luke said, we met before school at least twice a week for those first like 6 months. I think we started like January and went all the way up until the spring, like just talking, and doing all kinds of background work before we actually went to Ron Clark Academy.
And we actually sort of handpicked who was going to be in each house out of this entire school originally before we went. And as you can see, and that's why I wanted to say that, because it will evolve. You might have a set plan of something that you might want to do in your school, but as you go, don't be afraid to evolve it. Don't be afraid to scrap. I felt horrible coming back to Dustin Duty and telling him, we're not using any of the house crest designs that you just spent months on doing, because for us, we're a huge school. Obviously, you're at some bigger schools. Everything is through Ron Clark. We could have access to. If we needed to print something, you could use their copyright and print it on a shirt to where it was already readily available. It made it easier for us. So sort of the things we're going to talk about today is the purpose behind the house system, what these houses are. And like I said, these don't have to be the houses that you all use. You can do anything you want. How we sort into our houses, the student and staff roles, how we do house points, the house cup, and sort of the impact that this has had just in the past year at the high school. So the purpose, what is our why?
So the big thing for us is we knew we wanted to see a big change here at the high school. We wanted to improve that school culture, have that buy-in from kids, and get it so that it's fun, but it's also rewarding for, academics, attendance, all kinds of stuff. And the big thing that you'll hear us say over and over again is 4 houses, 1 family, so that even though there's these 4 separate houses, everybody's still together. And was the big part of it.
And I think it has done, even in the little amount of time that we've been doing this, as far as helping our culture at our school grow, the rapport within the classrooms. You can walk around and you see the crest at everybody's door, so everybody knows what house all the teachers are in. And small things like that you wouldn't necessarily think make a big impact, they end up doing. So the main purpose, so we've integrated the house system that's used at Ron Clark with pretty good results so far, from behavior, and we'll talk about that later, to academics as well. This system isn't just about games and activities. It allows for building positive school relationships with students and staff, and is adaptable for all grade levels. It gives students common threads to bind together, those from different backgrounds, and it has leadership components and more. And like we said, 4 houses, 1 family.
In all grades at Ron Clark Academy, they're only 6 through 8. So us doing at the high school is higher level, an older age range for than their actual kids.
And we learned from that as well, as there was certain components that they used that we knew, because we had older students, that it wouldn't work as well with us. And that's why I talk about the adaptability of this is huge. So our houses.
We have a griffin and a snake. Our color's black, and our heritage is Portuguese. And if you get on the Wrong Clark Academy website, it literally, like, I mean, there's backstories, there's like a whole workup, there's very nice downloadable like press that you can put on t-shirts, you can make stickers. Tiffany on the art room can make me stickers for the finger cart. And then we have Isabindi, House of Courage, Lion and the Swan, they're green, South African, and you can look in all these and they have all those different components, so it's pretty cool to see that.
House of Amistad, where I'm head of house of, also defending House Cup champs, is the House of Friendship. The symbol is the peacock in the night, color red, the heritage Mexico. And then Revere, which we will have a new head of house this year. Hannah King will be the new head of house for House Revere. Is the House of Dreamers. It's also the House of Ron Clark. So when we went, Johnette Collins, and we'll get into how we ended up with these houses a little bit. But their symbol is the wolf and crescent moon. Their color is blue, and their heritage comes from France.
And it's very hard to get that in light over top of the E for Revere. It's very specific. I want them everywhere. So for sorting, so this was something that, and like Luke said, we have like a core 8 to 10 people who have really worked on this from the get-go up here. And it's, you know, at your school, you're going to have to find those people who are wanting to buy in or wanting to facilitate all this. Because it wouldn't work out as well as it does if it wouldn't be all of us working together. Like, I can't do it all, Luke can't do it all, so having multiple people who are going to work with you. So for sorting, it sounds like it's going to be mass chaos. It really does, and it takes a lot of planning and making sure, you know, you as a school, you know where issues can come up a lot faster than anybody else coming into your building. So for us, like, transition is one, making sure everything's organized, everyone knows where they're going, where they're sitting. The kids who are going to be your leaders have roles. But we have these 4 blind boxes, and now kids are sneaky. I don't have to tell you that. But so like the first day, we had to troubleshoot it because they were looking down in there. Emma knows what I'm talking about. They were looking down in there and they were finding the one where their buddies were at, and they were grabbing that one out. So we had to start putting extra protection on the toppings. They couldn't look, make them stand back, little things like that.
And I think this year we've already talked about, because we will put freshmen in houses on Friday, is that they'll have to actually turn their back and reach in so they can't see. The one thing I do want to add to this is we put last year's seniors, the spring before when they were juniors, the leaders, in their houses first. And that's the only thing that we did differently, is we went ahead and chose ourselves the house leaders that would be in our houses for last year. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper here in a second, but we wanted to make sure that we had somewhat of a foundation. Even though they talk about randomness a lot, we at least wanted to start there with a little bit of a foundation from where we went as we kept going on. But this ended up being a fantastic event, as far as, even though, and you'll see, it's funny, because we would have kids that would pull and you could see sort of, oh, I didn't get in that house that I wanted. But as the year went on and you're starting to do other things and you're being involved with that specific house, how that attitude completely changes.
Yeah. But all the boxes had the same, I had the same amount of each color bracelet is another thing too, to make sure, because kids will ask, they want to know. They want to know if they've been gypped. And it was all just random. And that's the big thing too, is that they talk about Ron Clark, because, you know, even there, they have teachers who have kids that go there, and kids don't normally get anything nice to their parents because it is random. They all wheel, they spin. And some kids be like, well, can't you just switch me? Just switch me on that thing. I'll give you this bracelet back. It's like, no, the box decides, once you're in, you're in. One house forever. So that's a big thing too. But we really didn't have a lot of issue out of that. I think that the welcoming process kind of helps hinder that.
It does. And like, you know, Cody's back this year. He, you know, we all drew that spring, teachers did, to see what houses they would be in. He was in Altruismo. He's still in Altruismo. So it's not like he comes back and he's going to have to just randomly draw again. We had an English teacher here last year. Miss Boyd was a part of a house system at her previous school. She was in Amistad there. So when she came over, she just transitioned straight into Amistad. So it truly is, once the box decides, or however you want to do that, you're in that house for life, basically. So how we sorted. So we had 3 days of sorting at the start of our first year. The previous spring, all seniors had been sorted. We actually did that because we were only doing that one class. We did that in the auditorium, and I thought that went really well. We have an activity schedule that we'll use on Friday, and we did that throughout the year, where you're not going to miss any instructional time. You're not going to miss any one class. You'll have, I think, 10 minutes shorter each class, but you still have every class that day. Because teacher buy-in, every school has teachers that are like, well, I can't miss my 45 minutes of instructional time because it'll mess me up in March.
And knowing how our kids are too, for us at the high school, in years past, if you have an activity at the end of the day and the kids know that, well, they're calling them on pack off to get out of school. They're come pick me up, let's go. So our activity period is actually like the same amount of time as our second period is. So having it earlier, and it's honestly, I was a little worried about it, kids get more amped up, things are going on, throw off the rest of the day, but they just fall right back in.
No, I've been pleasantly surprised. I think the first time we did it, it was just literally for just a normal pep rally. And it's like from 9 to 10 in the morning. And I was like, a morning pep rally. And this is coming from a coach, a former athlete. I'm like, who does a pep rally in the morning? But it really has, one, it's helped with attendance because they're actually there to show up for it.
That mass exodus.
Exactly.
Parties. And also, it's the same activity schedule we use for virtually everything, unless it's a program that requires longer and then we rework it. But like in our back to school packet, we already have that, so we can put it up and the kids know it. So, because once again, kids like to know things.
So we have set roles for all the staff when it comes as far as supervision, and we do all this in the gym. So each house has one of the 4 sides. So like when you go into our gym, Amistad, as soon as you come in, Rever is on the other side, Isabendi, and then Altruismo on the other side. So how we usually have it set up is the house leaders, usually your student house leaders, but also some of your house leaders teacher-wise, are down in the front making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be, because usually the 4 or 5 of us are the ones running everything, making sure everything's going smoothly. You always have somebody that's running music. That's one big thing that they do at Ron Clark is music throughout the day, basically, in their transitions, but anything they're doing, because it just helps lift up everyone. And that's the big thing. Everybody has a role, and everybody is trying to stay involved. And you'll see when we talk about, not every kid you have is going to want to do this, but they still pay attention to what's going on when we've done these things, and that's made a huge difference.
So this was our first day of sorting. So you can kind of see we've got like our 9th graders on this side and then 10th grade over here. So this was our first day, and you can see there's some hesitation. There's just a few kids down here, and then go to the next one. And this was our last day of sorting. And so, and I don't know, there's a picture later on, but actually Lucas Short, who's not back this year, but he was one of us, and he was our MC. So had this big idea that we were going to eat watermelons, and there's going to be a watermelon eating event. Well, like, I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. And like the way that those kids got involved, and not just the kids, but the staff too.
Yeah, so we had 2 staff members and 2 students on each team. So that's me eating watermelon. But this was the first real true full school event that we did. And let's be honest, I don't think any one of us expected to see this at all. No. I really expected it probably would have been us 12 or 16 down there that were eating, maybe a couple of people standing by and everybody sitting in the stands. But for the amount of people, and I wish we had videos on here, because it wasn't just like they were standing here doing this the whole time. They were into it the whole time. They were cheering on their housemates. And I think this was really sort of the first point where I think I clicked and was like, we actually might be onto something here.
And I mean, you can see, there's still kids up here sitting, and there's kids in all the other ones. But that's just how it's going to be. You're going to see more kids are going to buy into it than other kids. Go to that next one. And we had literally no behavior incidents during any of that. And, that can be a huge thing with having an event of this size and letting the kids get down on the floor. Nate's got a ability to hyperventilate, I think, at least once. But he survived, and we survived. And there weren't, it was just really cool. Because, you don't want to have anything behavior kids, and have anything behavior-wise happen, being special ed, I'm fully prepared. I'm like, all right, am I going to have to get out of here? Who are we going to have to go calm down? So, um, and this is, we had Troy Kemp come last year and speak at opening day. I don't know if a lot of you, all of us were here, but this is something that, and he teaches at Ron Clark Academy, kids need a crew and a cause. They need to know that someone's counting on them, they can count on others. And that's not just for kids, but that's us as adults. You know if your person's gonna be at work that day, that, well, they're gonna be able to help me get through this. Kids are the same way, and even though it's something silly goofy like this, it matters. And these are some of the pictures by the end of the week. Um, Elijah Euchre, God bless it, he's not back with us this year, he's in law school now. He had an air horn, didn't go over too well with a few people, had to remove the air horn. So he took it upon himself to make said posters that we want air horn.
True lawyer would.
Exactly. And then so he's not holding it, of course, he gave it to some of the kids and they intermixed it. But like this is during the watermelon, like look at her little pants, like she had just got in. And then Samara always goes hard, but like this is literally that first week, I mean, we have a pickle costume, so it's just big stuff. I mean, and like I said, that's what makes school fun, is having those connections and those relationships, and if we can get all this stuff going, everything else is just gonna fall in line.
So student and staff roles. So how each house is set up from a student leadership role is in your senior class, you'll have 2 boys and 2 girls, and then in your junior and sophomore classes, you'll have 1 boy and 1 girl. And like I said, the previous spring, we had gone ahead and selected who we wanted to be our house leaders in each of those, and they were the first ones. We had a little thing for them, I think it was a Sunday, where we had like a get-together. They were actually dressed up really nice, and we did an entire presentation of what the house system was, why they were chosen to sort of be this first group to kick this off. But then we changed it to where, and it helps because you're never going to be 100% on picking the correct people to be your house leaders. And it's not one of those things too, it's like, well, you suck. We're going to have to go in a different direction. You're not going to say it to a kid. But if you make them apply again, the kids that really didn't want to be a house leader to begin with aren't going to apply. But we had 72 students apply to be house leaders this past year. So it's a little more than 1 in every 10 student wanted to be a house leader. And we're talking not just saying, I wish you could read some of these responses to why I want to be a house leader. It wasn't just, it's cool, it's fun. I mean, we got paragraph responses of how I think I found a role at this school. I found somewhere that I think I belong. And it was actually tough decisions where I remember having to sit down and like pick between 2 or 3 kids. And I couldn't go wrong either way. But that's what we wanted, is to where we got that. And I think it was a pretty even amount as far as who applied from each house. And I know Emily.
Yeah, we had, and that was another thing too, is that whenever we all met together, we decided that even if you were a house leader previously, didn't mean that you would automatically get it again, just based off of leadership qualities, how involved were you, things of that nature. And there was a couple for me who had been leaders previously, and I thought they didn't really like it. This wasn't really their jam, and that's a-okay. Like, that's not a big deal at all. Because we did select and they didn't apply for it before. And there was one that applied again and was the very first application that came in, and was the one that I was like, I don't think they won't be back. That'd be fine. And so, of course, they then get picked because they're showing me, and their responses were this beautiful paragraph about how, like, even though I do all this extra stuff at school, this is what matters, and this is what I see making a difference. And the biggest thing about that seeing too, the most for freshmen students, so upcoming sophomores that applied, and so for me, seeing, upperclassmen being the ones who are more involved, having freshmen do it were pretty big.
Yeah, it was huge.
Once again, from the special ed perspective, a lot of my kids were applying. They enjoyed it, and a lot of times our kids aren't the ones who are doing any type of sports. We play, I think probably football and archery are the 2 biggest things that they do, and so for them having involvement in something else is really nice.
And it is a true mix of the type of kids that we have as seniors. We've got a couple ROTC kids.
Yeah.
We've got obviously a couple athletes, but we've got kids that don't do anything else. This is their one extracurricular that they actually wanted to be involved with.
Yeah.
So staff roles. So every staff member is a member of a house. Every teacher, every custodian, every secretary, everyone has a house. Each house has an administrative member and a head of house. And we have a head game maker, which is me, responsible for all games at house events. And we switch up, so games are physical and mental, and I'll go into that in a second. I will say this, though. You know, every school has staff members that are not going to want to have any part of this, okay? And that's okay. I promise it is. You can put them in a house. You can ask them if they want a T-shirt. You can give them a T-shirt, and they'll tell you to their face, I'm never going to wear this. And it'll bother you. But at some point, you just have to say, this isn't worth my time. Because for every one of them, there's probably 3 more that are willing to say, hey, what can I do to help with this? And then you also have the tough conversations. And a lot of those tough conversations, we're not the ones, it's fine, we're not the ones that have to give that. That's usually one of our administrators. And I'll tell a story, I'm not going to say who it is. But right after we got put into our houses, or the rest of the teachers got put in their houses, one teacher was sort of talking negative about it. One of the administrators had a nice little come to Jesus talk. They actually cried. And they have actually created a headwear piece this summer, knitted a lion head to wear for Friday when we have our house stuff. That's exactly what it looks like. It's fantastic. So that turnaround, I really wish I would have messaged them and said, hey, can we tell this story? But that lets you know that you might not have initial buy-in from everyone, but at some point you are going to turn some of these people around.
And it's one of those things too that, you know, that's talking about adults, but none of us are here to make $1 million. We're here because of the kids. We're here because of the community. We want it to be better. We want it to be, you know, the best that it can be. So regardless of all that and how adults might feel, this is impacting kids somewhere in our school. I mean, not just one, but multiples. So that's the big thing to go back to too. But I have to remind myself of that.
It is. And listen, and it's buy-in from everywhere. I mean, listen, I was bought in from the beginning. And we go to Ron Clark, and none of us knew what house, because at that time I was House of Pine. They were like House of Oak, you know, our homeschool ones, our homegrown ones, until it's like, we've got to do it like this. One, financially, it just makes more sense to go straight with this, because when we talk about the house app and things like that, it's just streamlined for us. And we were in one of the sessions, and we had sort of talked about, you know, Johnette was like, we're revert, don't even think about it. And then I dozed off in one of the sessions.
Meanwhile, I'm back in the hotel
Yeah, she was sick. She wasn't even there. And Joey, I think, was staring at me just waiting, okay, I'm going to give Luke 30 more seconds to pick a house, and then I'm going to pick. So they picked Al Turismo, and of course I was left, and I was like, that's fine, red. I live in Wise, that's Central Colors, that's UVA Wise Colors, until I saw our mascot was a peacock. And then I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And of course, the rest of this session, it's me. So the rest of this session, I'm starting to get emojis from Lucas and Joey, peacocks, you know, going full bloom and everything like that. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But there's another talk. Exactly. But I've completely bought it. Now, when it comes to games, you can't make every game a physical game, because you want the buy-in from all types of students. And we've done that. I think in the last one we had, I think we were able to get roughly 8 games in. Now, we did have a couple games. We had a balloon pop where you're sitting down in a chair. I love it. Builder was freaking out. Where you're literally sitting in a chair and you're running full speed across the entire gym, and you're having to jump and land on them and pop it. We broke a couple chairs. But the kids loved it. But then we also had a math riddle packet, to where they had like 3 students that had to sit through there and solve these math riddles. We've done puzzles. We've done several things. So that's a key too, is when you do these games, make sure you're doing different types for different types of students.
Because, and honest to goodness, I don't know how, but I ended up with a lot of athletes in my house. Really don't. That's what happened. And they will just manhandle anything that has to do with like a strength type of thing. And I know So during the actual school year, when we like to have activities, and we actually sat down at the end in the spring and made out an activities calendar. And people who are type A, they like to plan, they like to know things ahead of time. So that way, everybody at the school knows, hey, on X day, we're gonna have something in the gymnasium. And Miss Wampler is very type A, she likes her plans and likes to have her list, so that's good. But some of the other little stuff that we've done is we've tried to do like these little, like, silly goofy games throughout the day. So like scavenger hunts or finding little things.
They love the stuff.
Oh, they do.
Oh my gosh. So I love hiding random stuff in my noses. But so I found these tiny Santas on Temu. I love the Temu.
And by tiny, I mean they're this
They're
big.
literally like that. Like they're like the size of a quarter almost. And hid like 20 of them. No, 18. I'm sorry, my slides exactly. And they went wild finding those things. And so it's not doesn't have to be anything big to do. We did it during in between class. They could not bring it to me during class. I would not take it. You would not get your prize. If you found hunting before, we've had to throw a few kids out, but they couldn't hunt anything for the rest of the day because they were hunting during class.
Yeah.
Class time.
And we usually rotate that too. Certain months or holidays are usually tied in with certain houses. Like Amistad Warehouse Friendship, we have Valentine's Day. So this past Valentine's Day, we did a hot chocolate and candy bar, make Valentine's that morning. We had it set up down in the foyer. And then I hid small little sticker hearts throughout the school. I think I did 10 or 12, and everybody that found them got a box of chocolates. So that's something small. I know Revere hid blue moon pie, because for the blue moon they had little moon pies that they hid, was the prize. So it's something we try to do, and then the goal was to try to do one of our true activities in the gym once a quarter. That's sort of the goal, is to try to do that once a quarter, once every 9 weeks, along with one of these smaller ones that's not taking any time away. It's between classes once a month. You talk about rock, paper, scissors. I was going to PGA Championship during that.
That was so fun. It was. So that was something that Isabendi did. Megan Adams. So she got Ann to order us a ton of the like Mardi Gras bead situation. So as kids came in, everybody got one Mardi Gras bead, and you would play rock, paper, scissors, and then if you beat somebody, you got their bead. So then at the end of the day, the ones with the most came down to the lobby and played out for the winner. And I should have put that video in here because I'm telling you,
It was wild
crowd,
looking.
and like they were not believing each other, and to the point that one boy had won in the cafeteria against another boy, and of course they're filming it. They're always on the Snapchat. Don't think they're not. And they're filming it, and they went back and watched the replay and saw that he had like changed his hand mid, and I mean it was very. I don't really know if he actually did. I think that's just what he was doing anyway, but whatever. But like they were like, okay, that boy's like, all right, you have your beats back or whatever. And I mean, like it was intense to the point that I think actually it was Eli. I saw him. I was sitting there out there waiting the other day, and he was out there playing rock, paper, scissors. Like, look how funny, he's still playing. And I mean, it was very good. But it was like intense.
And that's the thing too, you do not have to be elaborate. You think you would have to with the things that you come up with, but literally it's rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
It's hiding little Santas around the school, and they go crazy.
And for us, like a lot of rewards that are easy to put in is Cougar Bucks with the Cougar card. And so that's an easy one, and for us too, we can put in house points.
Hey, Luke.
Yes.
Question, I'm wondering, all the stuff we do, because you guys do so much stuff, how's that funded?
We raise money. So like we did the Valentine's Day dance, we sold tickets for that. We did.
I don't know if there's like a grant or if you had to.
No, it's a lot of fundraising. Ann helps us a lot with ordering things through Frisk.
A lot of stuff on the Cougar card, like
It's donations.
yes, donations, stuff that I go and buy with my own money, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Really not a whole
the
lot.
scavenger hunt stuff is straight out of our pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there, done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is for awarding house points, because we have Cougar Bucks that have house points. So for us to tell the difference, it's pretty important too. So you've got quizzes and tests, math mastery prep, other academics, good character. So we like to say that for house points, it's going above and beyond what we ask of you, like those really important things, and that's where the academics comes back in. Cause I mean, they wanna know if their points are being put in for these or these. And you have very competitive kids, especially once you get into your honors classes, and they'll be sure to tell on the teacher who's not putting in their house points. They want to know why so-and-so not putting those in.
Oh, absolutely. And this is sort of, we handed this out to all teachers at the beginning of the school year last year as sort of a guideline. Now, one thing like I do as far as other points for academics, usually my bell ringer once or twice a week will be some type of open-ended response where I want them to go into detail on something, and I'll tell them right up front, whoever I feel has the best response to whatever this question is from yesterday will get house points. And depending on how hard it is, I'll go from 1 to 3 somewhere. But like we said, usually the highest quiz score is 5, highest test score in the class is 10. If 2 people are tied, I give them both 10. And it got down real tight at the end of the year. And I know not every teacher is putting them in regularly. The other thing we can also do is a couple of us had administrative rights. So if you're worried about a teacher trying to stack points for their house, you can actually go, oh, here we go. You can actually go in and see and run a report of who has given house points, who they've actually given them to. But going back to that, where, you know, these Altruismo kids thought that I cheated.
Yeah, we were in the lead all year.
Well,
Last day,
You know what?
put 'em in.
it's okay. Me and Joey literally, we sat, this was on the last day of school, sat in the guidance office while teachers were coming to check out their final exams, and we would say, did you put in your final exam house points? And they were like, no. And I'm like, hand me your book. And me and Joey would sit there and put them in for each class, and then I'd be like, how many Amistad kids did you have? And he'd be like, 5. I'm like, good, I only had 3 Altruismo. And that's what ended up happening. But one thing, and I can pull it up, and you'll see, go ahead and switch to the next page, because I think it's actually popped up on there. Yeah, so this is what the house app looks like. But like literally, you just pop it up on your phone, and Wi-Fi in here is probably horrible. But if I just want to type in any name, such as the one that's sitting in the main back right there, it pops up. I can click on their name, click next. What do I want to give points for? And we have categories, so school spirit, good character, effort, hot questions. So like that bell ringer or formative, I can click hot questions. Do I give 1 point? And then slide, points been awarded. And then it'll be updated. If you want to switch to the next page, I think it's a picture of our actual. So this is what our board looks like. That will automatically be updated because we keep this up on the TV downstairs in the foyer. And so like if I put Emma's name in where Altruismo is, it'll be updated to whoever had the most recent points. So if she got points most recently, it'll say Emma P, 1 point with her initials, and then it has the stacked leaderboard. And I promise you, you don't think leaving that up there makes a big difference. Kids notice if they're in the lead or not. And if you tell a kid, hey, you see your name's up on the board? I don't know how many times I've seen kids walk over there when their name's on it and try to sneak a little picture that their name's on it. It really does make a huge difference. And like I said, students can keep track, and they do keep track of where they are.
And if it's not up, they'll want to look. Tell me right now, I don't want to walk downstairs. Like, you know.
Now, this is M's baby, so she can talk about it.
The Cougar part is, I feel like you can't talk about the houses without talking about the Cougar part, because they really do go hand in hand. And if you have kids up here, I hope they talk about the Cougar part, kind of. Okay, good. Because it's one of those things that it was always like something that I've seen people do at different schools. And I'm like, well, how do you even do that? You know, how do you go about doing it? You have to have that buy-in, and you have to have kids who, you know, they're working towards something good to get it. So obviously you have to have it school-wide. You can have it in individual classrooms. But, so for us, we have our cart, and we have so many random things on there. The number 1 seller is always going to be stickers. Those kids love a sticker. They can get 10 for $1. You get on the Timo, you buy a pack of 100 stickers for like $1.50. And now I will say you have to go through the stickers because there will be some inappropriate ones.
You do.
100% of the time. And I go through them myself. I used to try to trust some of my kids to do it. They don't think anything of something. I'm like, no, I can't have that down there. But camping stuff, cougar stuff, house stuff. I've even had waffle irons on there, very random, but they like it. Fishing poles. Go to the next one. So, but then we have our Cougar Bucks versus our house points. We've kind of talked about that. Cougar Bucks just like watching them do something that they might not see that you've done, like someone drops all their stuff, you have to pick it up. You see them including somebody in class, you see them going out of their way to, help a teacher or just doing those little things, um, showing improvement in attitude. So house points above and beyond what we ask for students, and bigger books catching kids being good and doing good. That's kind of like the overall sentiment. There's my nice cart. This is a very nice cart.
No, it's
I'm
very-
well aware of that. You could honestly, Luke wanted to sell hot dogs.
I've
out
tried
of
for
it.
2 years to sell hot dogs.
There's a base that opens up and you could do all kinds of
I've
stuff
tried
in
for
there.
2 years. She won't let me do it.
No. And then here's our last year's House Cup winners. There they are. And so the impact, so why, what's the purpose of doing it? Why? So same thing, we just wanna catch our kids being good and doing good and giving them those opportunities and improving our school culture. The next one. So both of these data points are based off the same sample size of time. So prior to the house system, we had 56 behavior incidents. And then after implementing the house system, with the same sample size, we only had 8. So that's an 86% decrease. So that's massive, especially at the high school level. And then for attendance is hard. Obviously, that's the district push this year. And especially hard for high schoolers because we have young adults, we have kids that can drive, kids who have jobs, kids who might have extra responsibilities we don't even know about. But went from up to the highest was 85, and then we were now at up to 90%, which,
For us, it's fantastic.
yeah.
And I will tell you, towards the end of the year last year, once finals are done, those last couple days, our attendance plummets anyway. But we did an event day in the auditorium because they had already set up for graduation, where we announced the new house leaders and announced the House Cup winner. And that was the highest attendance day I think we had in the last 2 weeks of school, which lets us know that those kids wanted to be there for that specific thing.
Y'all have any questions?
Are you ready for lunch?
So now how do you all get your time for your whole school events? You do that, you have a specific time?
We have an
built in?
activity schedule,
Okay,
and then it takes 10 minutes off of each class period,
I see,
and it builds into that activity period.
okay.
Yes.
Obviously, things that are bigger stuff, like whenever we have inflatables and things like that's a totally different.
Right.
Yeah, that's like a half day.
So all this is based on
Yes, and we've implemented at the high school.
And middle school,
So if they,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
if middle schools adopt this and start adopting
Mhm.
this,
that was my
how
next
would that
question.
be start at the high school?
At that point, we would just, whatever the house they were in at the middle school.
transfers in.
Yep. just
Yeah, that's what I would say.
We might have, and that's something too that we need to think about if you all were to start doing at the middle schools, which I think is sweet, is have like maybe like a little program for our kids to welcome in your kids.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard to say, let your leaders
Yes.
come down and kick off
Yeah.
their sorting or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, and we have some really good house leaders in our kids, and that's something too that I can say. I've been at LCC for almost 10 years now, and the culture of kids and their ability to talk to other adults and, look you in the eye and have those social skills has vastly improved. And I'm not even talking about just my special needs kids, I'm talking about all kids across the board. So having them interacting with younger kids would be even another platform that they could use. But yeah, no, this is, so it's all middle school Ron Clark. He's talked about opening a high school, but he's not done that yet. And I think that's another thing too to point out with Ron Clark is it is a private school. You do have to put an application to be accepted there, but they don't not take behavior kids. They don't not take special ed kids. And if you ever get the opportunity to visit, I would 100% do it. Like the building itself is just like beautiful. It's so cool.
Yeah, when you walk through a gate with a dragon
You do.
off the gate.
And like every 2 years.
Means you're all up at all, though.
No.
No, it would feed
If you need
into
help,
it.
just holler at me. I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tracy, let's do it.
I think you all should. And there's also, for bigger schools, there's 8 houses that they have options for. But I would say use our 4 houses and you use the same 4 because I've heard of some other schools and they do all 8. Like one girl was down there and their high school's a population of 300. They were doing all 8 houses and I was like, sis, I think that's going a little hard. So,
What's your enrollment year?
I think we're at 720,
Yeah, something like that.
something around there. It's still bobbing up and down, how it goes over the summer.
I think the consistency in which you all do it has really successful just with my kid. I mean, you know, he's not one that likes school anyways, and it's just something that breaks up his day and his week.
Yeah,
You know, it's, you know, not the only reason he goes by any means, but it brightens his day to have something besides school.
absolutely. Well, and listen, if you get to a point where like we've gone like a week or two more than we normally do and doing something, and these kids like, when are we doing something again?
Yeah.
And that's when you know, okay, they're into
Our
this.
middle school would be all the time. When are we doing something next month?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we'll share anything and everything, like even like those flyers that I make before for hiding and stuff.
I thought they come and observe Friday.
Yeah.
And sort.
Yeah.
We sort, it'll be about activity schedule, so we'll start about 9.
9 a.m. And you're going to get buy-in at the middle school because they know it's here already.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I think
that's
so too.
something too that we can talk to Ms. Wampler about, having one of each house leader come down. I will say, and I'm so sad they graduated, but Gage Yonts and Colin Bates were the ultimate hot men.
Yeah.
Like I'm just telling you, like, I don't know, they're like Bash Brothers, Step Brothers, tag team,
Yeah, if
whatever
you
you
could
wanna
get
call 'em.
one outgoing kid to be hyped about it,
Yes.
you get buy-in from
And,
all.
you know, and that's the other thing too, like in Isabindi, we had one boy, and he works, I don't know how much he works, he logs. Oh, yeah, Gavin, yeah, there's Gavin, okay. So this is not the stereotypical one that you would think.
He did.
But I'm just telling you, I love Gavin, and I would trust Gavin to take my car, I would trust him to go pick up my son, but I might be a little bit scared about what stops we'd make before we got home. Stations, you know, where are we going? But, just like that level of kid too, and seeing these different types of kids interact and do all this.
It absolutely is, because that's the type of kid that you're like, they might not be into this, but out of those 72, there was probably 40
Yeah.
that were just like that, applying to be a house
And
leader.
these are my kids right here working on this puzzle. And like Ruthie's not a house leader, Avery's not a house leader, but they were perfectly comfortable coming down and getting right in the middle of it. And then Tripp's holding this Mark Energy sign. So,
And I'm sure somebody's around there yelling that I'm cheating.
yes, 100% they are. Yeah, that would be Evan probably. So, and this is whenever they broke the chair. But if you all have any questions or want help, please reach out. We're happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Sorry we kept you a little bit late.